Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are on my third video in my series on deconstructing internalized capitalism. So if you're coming back, welcome back. I'm happy to have you here. If you are new, there are two other videos in this series that I would definitely recommend checking out. Today I want to talk to you about the idea of rest. I know an alarming number of people in my life that feel guilty when they're relaxing, that feel guilty reading a book or doing whatever it is, and they always say that they feel like they should be doing something else, that they should be being more productive. And oh boy, is that a lot to unpack. We are not meant to be productive all the time. Human beings are not structured that way. And well, people want you to work all the time so they can make more money from your excess labor. No, stop it. We're so programmed to exist like in this state of productivity that most people don't even realize that they shouldn't feel weird or guilty about rest. That taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, however you want to call it, that should be your default state. You need to be your first priority, to understand that you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others without being able to understand that you're worthy of that rest. It's important that you take time for yourself. Like, human beings were not meant to spend dozens and dozens of hours a week working. It's just not, it's not the way we were built. So I think the important thing to realize is, like, how did we get here? And I honestly think that this starts at such a young age. Like, we're programmed to have our time accounted for. You go to preschool and then you go to school, and you're in school from age 5 to either like 18 or 25 depending on what you're doing, or longer. And then you go into the workforce and you are so used to your time being scheduled, for someone needing to know what you're doing with your time and for your time to be creating value for someone, that you aren't able to recognize that your time should also create value for yourself. And that should be happening first. If you have a day with nothing planned, does that freak you out? If you do you ever have a day with nothing planned? Because I know for me, something that I do is I intentionally have days where I have nothing planned. And like, yeah, a lot of those days I end up like creating content or cleaning or doing whatever, but it's all stuff that I want to be doing. And if I don't film a video, like, yeah, sometimes I do feel guilty about it, which is weird because I do this for myself and like 10 people watch them. I find that there's value in it, and so maybe it comes from there, but it's something that I definitely had to, even with a project like this where I'm just doing it for my own enjoyment and the hopes that like maybe I can reach 1 or 2 people, I found that I would feel guilty if I didn't upload when I told myself I would, even though I'm accountable to no one. And I mean, I think it's healthy to want to be able to do things with your time to accomplish things, but if you feel guilty all the time about doing things for fun, and if you can't just like sit there for an hour and hang out and not feel like, oh, I should do X, Y, Z, like, that's not a good place to be. And I think it is particularly like a North American phenomenon. I know a lot of other cultures have a better relationship with rest, and like there's even like Italian words for just like the art of doing nothing, which I'm not gonna say because would be embarrassing. We're so focused on busyness, and it's such a badge of honor to be, oh, I'm just burnt out, I have so much going on. And that's bonkers. You shouldn't be burnt out, because you can't really recover from that, and that's what no one acknowledges. When you become so disengaged with yourself and all of your time is spent doing something that is productive, that are not able to see your own value and the inherent value of taking care of yourself and the inherent value of protecting your time and your space and your mental health. And I really think that people need to be intentional about the way they approach these things. Simply being intentional, hey. But it's important, and there's a reason why I talk about this stuff all the time, because I think that if you are not able to properly take care of yourself, then we're just setting up future generations for failure in ways of like leaving them the planet in the state that it is already a failure. But that's a whole other topic. I know a lot of people also like will wonder, like, how did we get here? And for me, I think it's just this idea that gets enforced in us from a young age that like doing nothing is problematic. Like, think about when you're a kid and someone asks you like, oh, what are you doing? And if you say nothing, like, one, they either automatically assume that you can't obviously be doing nothing, so you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, which is nothing. nothing. You can't be doing nothing. Or that you're doing something that's not worthwhile and you'll be given a task that's like more important, of stuff that should be done, and it's usually awful and weird and you don't want to do it. And I think of like all the joys of being an adult is I spend less and less time doing stuff that I don't want to do. So, but that's, you know, I think where we start learning it. And then in school, you know, you can't just sit there and do nothing. You have to be working on something or doing something. And then at work, you can't be doing nothing. You have to be doing something. And we have this idea that just simply doing nothing, which for hundreds of thousands of years was like a pretty normal stuff for us to be doing, is bad and it's wrong and you have to be doing something. And like even reading, which is something that I love doing, that I find very relaxing. I know so many people are like, oh, well, you can't read like fantasy books because that's not improving your brain, and you know, you should be reading nonfiction, and you should count how many books you read, and you should start a book talk, and then you should do all of these things. And it's like, whoa, dude, I kind of just want to read books about fairies and chill out. I don't feel guilty doing that. I get up every morning, I drink my coffee, I read my book. I think it a lot of times seems like I have my shit together because like my house is really clean, and the cleanliness is really just like a form of coping with my anxiety. I can't chill out in an unclean space, and that's my own thing, and that's like a weird way like that I think, as an example, like this idea of productivity like gets to me. Like the thought of sitting down and relaxing in a house that isn't clean, like can't cope, should be cleaning, and then after that I can do whatever I want, right? So even I am not immune to it, obviously, and like these videos are all things that I'm talking about from my own experience or that I hear from people in my life. So I think that that's an important takeaway. We can't just be out there assuming like other people have it together when we don't. I think that we need to be more honest about the fact that we're all struggling under capitalism, and I think the more people talk about it, the better it will be, and the more of us that can get out there and just like sit in a camp chair and stare at some rocks. It's good for you. Just do it. And I know I talk about this all the time, but the one thing that I really think that people need to stop doing is the stuff that they should be doing. If you feel like you should be doing something else, don't go and do that other thing. You should sit with what you're doing and think about why it makes you uncomfortable. Who do you feel like your time should be accountable to, if not yourself? No, nothing will create more disappointment than the abstract idea of what you should be doing. Like, take that list and throw it away, burn it, whatever, but like, stop. We've become so accustomed to productivity as our default state that we aren't able to understand that this isn't normal. People have lost the ability to just completely engage in something that isn't productive, that could be seen as doing nothing, because we feel like our only value comes from our productivity. This is ingrained in us through life and is reinforced by society and our media and all of these things, much like the propaganda that I talked about in the last video. Really, like, if you're feeling guilty about spending your time the way you want to spend it, like you need to examine that, because we as a society are so focused on busyness, on, you know, productivity, hustling, whatever you want to call it, that it is pervasive and toxic and quite frankly scary. Anyways guys, as always, thanks for stopping by, checking these videos out. I do appreciate it. I would love to talk to any of you in the comments about like what you think about this stuff. Even if you think I'm wrong, I'd love to have a respectful conversation about these topics. I know it makes people feel uncomfy to talk about capitalism, and I know, like, especially for millennials, we just hear over and over again, well, it's you're lazy, you don't want to work. No, that's not it. I just think that like it could be a little bit less brutal to live this way, but that's a topic for another day. Next week I will be talking about how you are working too hard. Trust me, you're working too hard. Anyways, I hope that you are happy and healthy and living your life wherever you are in the most intentional and best way possible. I'll catch you in the next one.